What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Galarian Zapdos on the channel. And the reason that we're looking at Galarian Zapdos is because it was used by a Japanese player to get 12th place in the July ranked ladders, that just finished a couple days ago. So, Galarian Zapdos, just like also Galarian Articuno, they've struggled to even make an appearance in Regulation D just because they have a lot of weaknesses and a lot of things that are just not enough to merit a slot on a team that maybe some other Pokemon can do, but also a better job of it, right? But that being said, there was a niche that was explored, and from there, it managed to do relatively well on ladder, okay? And that's why we're going to cover it today. But just overall, let's look at it as a Pokemon itself before we showcase and look at the team that was built by Mutou. But anyway, Galarian Zapdos, again, if we just look at its speed tier, base 100, so that's pretty good. It speed ties with Chi-Yu, for example. And then from there, the bulk is actually pretty decent. 90 base attack, 90 base HP, 90 base defense, 90 base speed def. So that's actually pretty good, relatively bulky. And that's probably the way you would have to build Zapdos in this kind of format. Build it relatively bulky. The defined ability is also pretty good. Again, with so much Intimidate running around from like Arcanines, Landrases, and even Gyarados now, defined is becoming a much more valuable ability because now Zapdos, when intimidated, is able to, get an attack boost, and then from there could potentially sweep teams if you have the speed control, right? And then it also gets its own speed control move, Tailwind, right? A lot of people forget about some of these birds that actually do get Tailwind this generation, right? Whereas, in Sword and Shield, they did not get it. Zapdos is one of those recipients of Tailwind. It also gets access to another strong, of course, flying move in Brave Bird. And then it can also get Close Combat, of course, but its signature move is actually Thunderous Kick, which is actually quite useful. Not only do you not get, drops from Close Combat, but you have a chance to drop defenses by 1. So imagine this, paired with something like, Urshifu or Dragonite. It just gives you some ideas. Even Rillaboom can definitely benefit from this. Right, and then from there, you can also just have bulk up, right? So you can not only just boost up your attacks, but now you can boost up your defenses, and now you can actually become relatively bulky, right? But you can also just opt for just straight up 4 attacks. You can also just go for a pivot move like U-turn, and then from here, literally just something else, whatever it is you want to use. Oh, Stomping Taps is pretty cool. Yeah, we'll add that there, and then you can definitely go like an Assault Vest variant. So this way you can actually become relatively bulky on the special defense side, and then just add like some Intimidate Pokemon here, next to Zapdos. Either something like a Gyarados, an Arcanine, like we said, or even your own Landorus, right? And then Landorus actually can do somewhat decent here because, again, you are next to a flying type. So what you can also do is simply put Earthquake here, and now you made Zapdos pretty much bulky on both sides, right? Because you have Intimidate to drop attacks, and then now you have the Assault Vest also to drop special defenses, right? And as far as like matchups are concerned, Zapdos can do well against like Rillaboom, it can do well against Amoongus, it can do well against Heatran, it can even do well against Urshifu, right? Because you are a flying type as well. So you can definitely do well against a lot of the top 10 within the meta. Okay, all you have to do is worry about the speed control at times. But a lot of these Pokemon are mid-tier, right? Mid-tier speed, so you can actually just already straight up outspeed them. All of them, actually, because, Urshifu is only at base 97. You're at base 100. You are going to be built bulky, so, and in that sense, you do have to, consider that sense. And at the same time, just for, like, a fighting standpoint, like, if you just consider even Ursaluna, right? Like, you actually do relatively well against Ursaluna, right? Because you have a super effective fighting move, and then Ursaluna can't click its ground move. It's forced to click Facade, which probably just does more damage anyway. But, you got matchups. You definitely have, decent matchups into a lot of the meta, right? All it takes is you have to explore it and figure out a way to really utilize Galarian Zapdos, right? Of course, the main matchups that you're going to have to worry about is, Chien-Pao. You're going to have to worry about Flutter Mane, of course. These two, they do relatively well against Zapdos, and it's a nice move. Flutter Mane's got a fairy move, so those are the two things you have to consider yourself. And then maybe even like the Psychic Spam from like Indeedee Armarouge. So some matchups you can do well, some matchups you're going to struggle a little bit, but it's a Pokemon that has a niche if you ever need it, right? So yeah, it's something that is interesting to build around. Now what we're going to do after talking about Zapdos is now let's showcase the team that was built, and we'll, take a look at the EV spreads, of course, and see the composition and how it was created. And then from there, we'll try and showcase it in a couple of, showdown games. Okay, so this is the team built by Mutou, and again, if you want to check him out, here is his Twitter, where he actually posted the rental code. So if you want to try it out yourself, feel free to do so. It's also up on VGC Paste in their repository, so if you want to also access it there, it is there. If you want to read about the building and how some matchups were used, or how some Pokemon were used, you can read up on their Hatenna blog, which is right here. Now, I did translate it, of course, into English, but it originally comes out in Japanese. All you have to do is just click the translate button. And then from there, you can kind of get a sense of what was being done here and used, right? And then from there, you can, pretty much just use it like a team report and just hop on ladder and just try out certain things, right? But let's get into the team construction here. So it was Zapdos here with Grassy Seed. That can only mean one thing. It's used with Rillaboom. Makes a lot of sense. You're getting a defense boost. And then over here, you can just read up its sets. Detect, okay, with bulk up and 2 attacks. Thunderous Kick and Acrobatics, right? And this is actually a really, really cool item, right? Acrobatics, it's going to do more damage, right, when you consume your item. So if you just consider this compared with Brave Bird, it's almost as strong, right? 110, but now you don't have any recoil, okay? And then at the same time, again, you're just dropping defenses. And then after the first Thunderous Kick, now all your physical attackers are just going to be doing more damage, right? And this is actually a creative way to, use Galarian Zapdos, and we'll explain some of these matchups as we go. But again, bulk up scenarios, you could do Zapdos Rillaboom, click Fake Out, get the defense boost, click bulk up. Now you're +2 defense along with, +1 attack. And now also your acrobatics is just hitting relatively hard. Electric, that's also a pretty, interesting Terra type. Pretty much your only weakness is ground. So at the same time, it's relatively nice. And then from here, Rillaboom here, very standard set. Fake Out, U-turn, knock off, Wood Hammer. And there is an Aguav Berry here, and I was reading about it. It's also in his blog. Basically, the idea here was that the Assault Vest was taken up by Ting-Lu already, and there was a Citrus Berry taken up by the Cresselia, so, he went Aguav Berry for more recovery instead. And speaking of the Rillaboom, again, if we just take a look at the EV spreads here, it's actually 1 point higher than 192, so 193. And then from here, you're hitting the benchmark here, Adamant 116. This is the EV bump. So again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, make sure you comment in the comment section below. It's one of the basic fundamentals of team building in competitive Pokemon. If you don't know what they are, make sure you comment and ask, so this way I can help answer you. There's always someone, at least one person that asks. All right, then it's actually very bulky, right? 148 defense and 76 speed def. It almost looks like it could run an Assault Vest, so it's actually very bulky, very slow Rillaboom. Then Cresselia over here with a very standard set with Trick Room, Lunar Blessing, and Moonblast. Then Icy Wind for a little bit more speed control. It is a calm nature, and I believe this is to the benchmark again. Yep, this is 156 to the benchmark here, and then 124 was just dumped into the defenses. And then from here, Palafin actually makes an appearance here, which is actually very interesting. I guess they wanted some answer into Dondozo, right, with the haze. And then at the same time, what you can do is, like, you could lead Zapdos, Palafin, potentially swap it out into Rillaboom, get that boost, and then from there, go for some hard-hitting acrobatics. I've seen that play a couple times. But Palafin, being a strong water type is actually pretty cool. That has some good pivot potential. Priority Jet Punch is also relatively nice. And then from there, we already know what Palafin does, since Regulation C. It hasn't really seen any or barely any appearances in Regulation D. That's because there's something named Urshifu here. But I feel like if you had Urshifu here, that's just too many Flutter Mane weaknesses. All right, and also too many flying weaknesses as well. So I think Palafin was a little bit better of a choice here, just in terms of like type matchups, right? Then the Gholdengo here, so it's a Choice Scarf Trick Gholdengo, so it's just meant to be 252, be relatively fast, and then, Trick, if something goes for Trick Room, for example, like an opposing Cresselia, you can just trick the Choice Scarf into the Cresselia, and now they're just stuck clicking Trick Rooms, and now they're just being relatively fast. Same thing with like Amoongus, you can trick the Choice Scarf there, and then, sometimes they may not be able to just go for a Spore, for example, right? But Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Make It Rain, very standard set here. Of course, it's just a very, very good Pokemon. Choice Scarf Gholdengo. You can even lead it with Rillaboom, Fake Out plus Make It Rain, or Fake Out Trick, and then you're just moving. Ting-Lu is another one that really hasn't seen play at all. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon here that just don't get any more play, like Ting-Lu, Palafin, and Galarian Zapdos. But Ting-Lu has good synergy, with these two, actually, right? Because now, if you look, it has Earthquake, right? And now, what you can do is click Earthquake next to Cresselia, and you can click Earthquake next to Galarian Zapdos. And Ting-Lu actually becomes either an offensive force as well as a supportive force. You can lead Cresselia, Ting-Lu, click Earthquake, click Trick Room, reduce special attack damage. So now this way, Flutter Mane is just not doing so much damage with its Shadow Ball. And then you can even do like Galarian Zapdos, Ting-Lu, right? At the same time, you get a potential Grassy Seed boost or a Bulk-Up boost from either Rillaboom, right? So now you bulky defensively, and then you swap in the Ting-Lu, and now, you're helping it be more bulky by reducing special attack damage. And it's another Pokemon that you can click Earthquake next to, and then at the same time, you can click Thunderous Kick, and now, both Zapdos and Ting-Lu can do big damage because, defenses are being dropped overall, right? So you can almost think about it like an active form of Sword of Ruin, right? That's the way I kind of like to see it. Okay, and there's no Flutter Mane, there's no Dragonite, there's no Chien-Pao. So it's a really, really cool, refreshing team to try and use at the same time, right? So, from here, just like looking at the team overall and, taking a step back, there's some good synergy here. There's some good combinations. We mentioned Ting-Lu Cress. We mentioned Ting-Lu Zapdos. We mentioned Rillaboom Zapdos. Okay. We mentioned, something like Palafin Cress, maybe swap out into Ting-Lu. Palafin Zapdos, swap out into Rillaboom. These are just some ideas that you can use and capitalize. And then Gholdengo could even be used as a lead potentially, just to put on a bunch of pressure early, and then just have some of these guys finish off the game. Like we said, right? So, it's an interesting team. I like to try it out in some ladder games. So what I've done is I've asked a viewer to, pick 2 meta teams and just try and use it against me, right? So let's go ahead and showcase some battles and see if we can get some wins originally with this Zapdos team. Okay, so he's going to use Cresselia Ursaluna team. Okay, with Iron Hands and then Amoongus and then Urshifu. Okay, very, very standard team. So it's a Trick Room team. We also have Trick Room on our side. So all we have to really do is just trying to outplay him. All right, so this is almost like a Trick Room mirror. So I'm going to lead Palafin here, which along with Zapdos, because I feel like Palafin in the late game can actually do some big damage. We'll keep Rillaboom in the back. Okay, and then from there, we'll just play out the matchup. So Zapdos comes out here. Here comes my Palafin. There's his Crest. There's his Iron Hands. Okay, so he wants to do Fake Out and get up the Trick Room. That's okay. You can also bait that and just go straight into the Palafin here. And it's a good lead with the Iron Hands because he probably just considers, okay, if he leads the Zapdos or if he leads the Palafin, I have something for that. And at the same time, if he wants to lead the Ting-Lu or even like a Gholdengo, then we have something for that as well. All right, but this is still fine. I'll go into Rillaboom. I'll get my Defense boost now. I'm going to click Protect this turn, right? So I'll essentially give him the free Trick Room, okay? But that's okay because now we have Fake Out potential on our side. So now we can just do some big damage. So we're going to click Fake Out on this Iron Hands here because he stays in. Does Moonblast, but that's actually works out in our favor because he drops our special attack, right? And then now we got a Defiant boost, which is actually really nice. So I'm going for Thunderous Kick here. I probably arguably, should have went for the Acrobatics play. It just slightly more damage, right? But the defense drop is what's important to me. All right, because I didn't expect to get my I didn't expect to get the bonus damage there from the special attack drop, right? So I wanted the initial defense drop beginning. So there's a wild charge there, and now what I can do is actually just try and pick up the Iron Hands here. He does heal it, but doesn't matter because we have grassy terrain and the defense was dropped. So we actually just pick up the Iron Hands right then and right there. So good value from Zapdos and Rillaboom, in these initial turns. Here comes Ursaluna. Now, again, he can go for, Facade here into Zapdos. That probably might kill. I'm not sure, and I wasn't really going to take a chance. Okay, so I'm just going to switch on into Gholdengo here because what ends up happening is if he decides to go for the Zapdos, if he clicks Facade, then that doesn't work, or a Ghost type. And I don't think he's going to click Headlong Rush into a flying type, right? So I felt like this switch was relatively safe with Gholdengo here. He goes into the Rillaboom here, and the Moonblast actually went into the Zapdos slot. So he probably tried to pick up the KO with the Crest like that. But I'm going to switch out and recycle my Fake Out. Let's go into Palafin now, which looks really good here, right? Just because we have priority Jet Punch now, and you know, we're a bulky Palafin, right? So then from here, honestly, you know, I'm just going to go back into Zapdos here just in case he wants to click Facade. You know, I think we can take that. He's not going to click Facade into a Ghost type. At least that's what I think. And I don't think he's clicking Headlong Rush here. I'm sorry, if he did click Headlong Rush, then we can just, you know, bait that because we switched to a flying type, right? And I don't think he kills the Palafin anyway. So yeah, so there's the Terra Normal there. He goes Crunch actually. Okay, so there's a you know, that's a meaningful tech on Ursaluna. I've seen a bunch of. He gets the defense drop, which means he gives me Defiant Boost. All right, so and there's only one turn of Trick Room left, so Zapdos is going to be looking relatively good here. All right, so now from here, all we want to do, he goes into Amoongus. All right, so good idea there. We do Wave Crash into the Crest, and I went Acrobatics here. We removed the Crest right away. So Zapdos, you know, doing relatively well with this double attack boost. He can't really do a whole lot here anymore. Zapdos is just sweeping here with this +2 attack with Acrobatics doing so much. He does get rid of the Palafin, so he does remove something, but it's not going to matter because we got Rillaboom back here. And now he just delays it with Protect, which means I get to go Fake Out with Bulk Up because why not? So now I'm +3 Zapdos, and I go for, of course, the biggest Thunderous Kick that you've ever gonna see, and that one-shots the Ursaluna. So that was actually pretty cool. I mean, we got to use a lot of the combos with Zapdos here, along with Rillaboom, which makes a lot of sense. We got to recycle Fake Out. We were a little bit fortunate with some of those drops, you know, give us Defiant Boost, but that's the idea with Defiant, right? Sometimes those things are gonna happen, and you can capitalize off of them. All right, let's take a look at another battle. Okay, so now they're using our hyper offensive team. Yeah, I built this team. It'll be a rental code soon. I put this out for subs, but basically it's Dragonite, Chien-Pao with, you know, the 4 homies, right? So I like, looks like Ting-Lu has some good value here, right? Because we have ground type coverage for the Heatran, we got Rock Slide for spam for these two, Dragonite, Chien-Pao, and then at the same time, you know, we have Cresselia that can really keep things going up for us, right? So honestly, here we go, Dragonite, and he goes for Urshifu, which means probably Chien-Pao's in the back. All right, and I don't know which one Chien-Pao wants to swap in for, but I definitely know it's in the back. And there's probably Flutter Mane, I don't know for sure. But Ting-Lu doesn't look good here, right? In front of an Urshifu for sure. But this is where Terra Fairy really comes in handy. It just all depends if he swaps in Chien-Pao or not. So he doesn't, he actually just goes straight surging strikes, you know, not thinking that I may keep the Ting-Lu in there. All right, he does, clicks aerially, so he ignores the Crest, which means I get the free Trick Room. All right, so now he goes into Chien-Pao here, but again, he's not clicking priority moves, which means I get, you know, free Earthquake damage here on the Chien-Pao. Does some decent damage, and I get to heal the Ting-Lu a little bit. All right, and again, he doesn't switch out the Dragonite, so he's just forced to be clicking this suboptimal Aerial Ace, no Terra Normal yet. So stalling Trick Room here. I'm going for Rock Slide here. Maybe he's not confident that Sucker Punch picks up here, but I thought he might do it. And he can't click a Dragonite priority move, which means finally does remove the Ting-Lu with the Aerial Ace, but that's okay. Now we have Rillaboom. We can stall out something here, you know, with Fake Out against the Chien-Pao and just try and deal some damage into this Dragonite. All right, he goes into Urshifu, so he's actually just going to potentially give it to me, but again, I didn't go for the Fake Out, by the way. I went for Wood Hammer because I called this, you know, this switch here from the Chien-Pao here, so I was more worried about that than, you know, whatever it was doing or whatever was swapping in, right? So I gave him the free switch. He does get his Urshifu in, but again, doesn't really matter against this. All right, so he protects the Chien-Pao there. Actually, not even a double protect here. And I know this because this Urshifu is actually sashed with no protect because there's no Tornadus on this team. So it's essentially a free Torn. All right, here's the Flutter. You know, at long last, we get to see it, but we just go into Gholdengo real quick. I just want to swap my Rillaboom, not die to, you know, the Ice Spinner. I want to preserve my Fake Out against the Chien-Pao and just deal a little bit of chip damage here. That's really good damage into Crest, but we have Citrus Berry Recovery and we get Trick Room back up here. So here's Rillaboom once again. All right, he protects Flutter, and he tried to Sucker Punch, right? So that would have been good. this actually didn't pick up Chien-Pao. I was a little bit sad there, but it's still fine. Now he protects Chien-Pao. He kind of has to, right? I always go fake out there no matter what. And Cress actually lives here. I thought it would actually drop, but it actually lived the Shadow Ball. So this is Cresselia the Immortal, right? This is why you go Calm Cresselia spreads. And now we can just remove the Chien-Pao here. And Flutter Mane can't really do a whole lot here. It's pretty much all she wrote. It's a 3-on-1 basically. You know, we just click Lunar Blessing, but really all it is you just click Wood Hammer and the game is over, right? I feel like my opponent could play that one a little bit better. But all in all, you can see the value of Ting-Lu and Cress here. We got to showcase that a little bit. And again, Rillaboom is just really good in both of these games. So yeah, we didn't really use the Zapdos this time around. But now that you got to see a couple battles, again, like I said, feel free to use this team. It was actually a really, really cool creative team. And hopefully maybe we can even just show it on, you know, Cart Ladder relatively soon. I feel like this is a fun one to try, especially in the early goings of August. And again, if you want to read up on their blog here from Mutou, right, feel free to do so. We'll link their Twitter in the video description below. But yeah, that's it. It's nice to see Galarian Zapdos be put on a viable team. You know, so give this one a go. Let me know how you do. And if you're interested in coaching and team building on the channel, we have been doing that throughout, you know, Scarlet and Violet. So if this is something you're interested in, it's a tier 3 sub to the channel. Make sure you check out the link in the video description as well as the link in the pinned comments. And then from there, click it, and then you can sign up for tier 3. Then you can message me on Discord, and then we can coordinate a one-on-one session where we can get you that team that you need to be able to compete either on ladder, a tournament, an in-person, local, whatever it is you need it for. We will make sure we get you that team that you so desire. All right, we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.